Welcome to WiseTake.com. This is CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And yes, we are bringing you another NBA DFS podcast. It is Friday, February 10th, 2017. We've got an awesome 9-game slate for you today. I'm going to start off by saying yesterday reaffirmed something I already knew. I learned a new lesson that I already knew and that I preach all the time. And that's what I get for not following my own rule. And that is, I always say if you're going to be committed to playing a DFS slate and you seriously are going to try to win, right? If you're just playing for fun, who cares, right? But if you're playing and you're really thinking, you know what, I want to win, you have got to be, whatever device you use to make changes to your lineups to find out your news, you have got to be on that device. And for me, it is certainly my computer in my office. And where I should have been last night from the hours of 6:30 to 7 o'clock was in my office on the computer. And I was not. I was not on the computer at all. And the worst part is we ended up going, my wife and I went to my father-in-law's house, which we had it's awesome. Love going there. But we had the laptop. My wife had to do some homework. I explained to her I need the laptop from X and X. And then I decided to be a nice guy and compromise. You know what? I'll just get it out the way now, and then you can have the laptop the rest of the night. So I finished unplugging my lineups around I want to say 6:30. I figured, hey, it's only 30 minutes. It's been a quiet night. Why not, right? Surely enough, about 5 minutes after I give her the laptop, apparently they announced that the big three were going to play. And it really, really screwed me up. It screwed me up so bad. And I ended up not cashing last night in my cash games because of it. And it's what I get. It's what I deserve. So I'm not asking. I deserve every bit of that. I say all the time, if you're going to play a slate, you got to be on your computer or whatever device you use to make changes and find out updates up until lock, and I broke my own rule. And I will not ever do that again. The next time I'm in a situation where I feel like I can't be on the computer before lock, I'm just not going to play. And that's probably what I should have did last night. Now, I will say, even though I did have Channing Frye and Kay Felder in my cash lineups, I barely missed out of cashing. I almost cashed somehow anyway, so I don't know why. Everybody definitely heard the news and switched, because those guys that I played that should have been 50% owned if the big three were out, they were like 5% owned, 3%. So I know that everybody got the adjustment, and the main cash games that I play are the $25 double ups and 50-50s and whatnot. So typically it's a little higher stakes. Typically you're dealing with a little sharper minds, and I know they were on the ball, and I was one of the dumb ones that wasn't. So it kills me almost even more, because I know if I would have just even if I would have just swapped out those two players, anybody but Kay Felder in that lineup, and I would have cashed pretty much, yeah. So that was a little bitter. But anyway, we got an awesome slate to talk about today. We're moving on. I'm past it. I'm over it. Short-term memory, right? So I'm past it. Awesome slate today. We got some injuries. We're going to go down some injuries, talk about what that means for the slate. And then we're going to go position by position and talk about a few guys. I think it's interesting today because point guard is a position that's loaded. Every time we have a big slate like this, it's always loaded. And sometimes even in small slates, it's loaded. And there's a lot of good plays today, but it's not as loaded as we've grown accustomed to. Obviously, there's 9 games, so there's a lot of options. However, if you go down the list, some of these guys are in tougher matchups. For instance, Steph Curry is a matchup against Memphis. We got Jeff Teague against John Wall. We've got Schroeder against Collison. So it's not like there are definitely plenty of options to go to. It's just, I think that because it's so limited today, and some of these guys will most certainly bust, it's important not to miss. So I'll go over some of the point guards that I was looking at, but it's going to be very important for you today. Use your projection systems. Use the WiseTake projections if you're a member. They're free, but you're not going to want to miss that point guard today. It's going to be very, very important that you hit on point guard. And point guard and probably center too, but we'll talk about those when we go position by position. For now, let's go down the list of injuries. Dion Waiters is questionable with an ankle against Brooklyn. Obviously, if Waiters plays, he's in a monster spot. I love Waiters if he plays. I love pretty much playing everybody against Brooklyn. On the flip side, I hate playing Brooklyn players. I think Quincy Ace is the only guy. Oh, no, Quincy Ace is expected to miss 2 games, and then LeVert is questionable on the Brooklyn side. So on the Miami side, if Waiters does play, I love Waiters. If Waiters does not play, you can look at Dragic, Johnson. I mean, you could look at Dragic and Whiteside regardless. Whiteside and Dragic, they're in solid spots regardless. But you can certainly, if Waiters doesn't play, guys like Magruder, who's cheap if you want to look for value. Wayne Ellington, I don't know if he's getting the minutes that he was anymore now that Tyler Johnson's back. But Tyler Johnson you could look to, certainly. And Dragic and Whiteside, obviously, even if Waiters plays, you can look at those guys. But if Waiters plays, I like him. If not, obviously, you can look elsewhere. On the Brooklyn side, if Karis LeVert doesn't play, then I guess you can go back to Bogdanovich, Hollis Jefferson, Kilpatrick, those guys. I'm never going to play those guys in cash unless I have to. Have to, meaning like the other night where we had a 3-game slate. But I just don't like to play those guys. I always say it all the time, like they're like 50 deep of average, right? Maybe even below average. They got all these guys, like 9 of them, who are all average to below average, and you never know which one of those guys is going to have the good game because they're all pretty much the same kind of player. Like Bogdanovich is a shooter, and that's pretty much it, and you can never really count on anybody. The only guy I ever feel comfortable playing when I decide to play them is Brook Lopez, and even him, like he does well, but imagine how well he would do in the fantasy world if the guy actually tried to get a rebound every once in a while, right? As big as he is, a center. Imagine if he tried to get a rebound once in a while or tried to play some defense once in a while. Imagine how the upside that he would have, but he doesn't. And that's just the world we live in. That's just the player he is. So he's still a good play. Against Whiteside, I think he's a phenomenal play. He's played Miami a couple times and he's done well. So I definitely think he's in play today. But yeah, I think the Karis LeVert news is obviously carries a lot more weight than the Quincy Acey news. Moving on, Kenneth Faried is questionable against the Knicks with an ankle. Moutier is doubtful with a back. Gallinari is out with his groin. And then Joakim Noah is doubtful with a hamstring. That's the Denver Knicks game. So we'll start off with Faried. Faried is questionable. If Faried plays, I think he's a GPP flyer. I would only put him in GPPs, especially because in the last game he only played 15 minutes. I don't know if that was because of his injury or if that was because of the matchup. But he only played he didn't play very much. I don't know exactly how much he played. And if that's the kind of output you're gonna get, obviously you want nothing to do with him. But this is a homecoming game for Faried. Faried is from Newark, New Jersey, which is about 30 minutes from me, and it's about 15 minutes from Manhattan. So definitely a homecoming. Jersey people are definitely anywhere from Central Jersey and up. They're all New York guys. They're all New York people. They're like New York teams and all that. And so I think in GPPs only, Faried is an option. Only because we don't know he's going to get minutes. If we knew for sure he was going to get at least 30, then yeah, I would play Faried in cash for sure. But we don't know for sure if he's going to get 30 or not. That's the only reason I say GPP. If you feel comfortable with his minutes, if you feel like he is going to play those minutes, then sure, you can throw him in there. But for me, I'm not convinced he's going to get a full 30. And also, a lineup we've seen them do is when Faried is not playing, we've seen them go with, I think, Harris at the 2, Barton at the 3, and Chandler at the 4. So Gallo's out. So Chandler remains a solid play. Now, I want to talk about Chandler a little bit because I've been riding this guy, and it's been phenomenal ever since Gallo has been out. The only games where he didn't do well were games where his whole team didn't do well, and he was just pulled because it was a blowout. But he's in a pace-up spot against the Knicks, and the Knicks are obviously a horrible defensive team. Problem with Chandler, we know he's going to get his run. Now, on our projection site, we haven't projected for Number Fire hasn't projected for 30.63 minutes. That's obviously off. He's going to play closer to 35. I would say minimum 35 minutes here. Ever since Gallo's out, he's been getting some serious run, and he's one of the top scoring threats without Gallo. So he's definitely a guy that's been on my radar. Anytime Gallo is out, I'm playing this dude. Problem is his price is up to 7-1. Now, the reason I feel like that's an issue is, number one, his projected points per minute is 1.01. Granted, I think it goes up a little bit with Gallo out. However, even if he plays, say, 40 minutes, which would be a lot, you're looking at about... he would just be hitting his value. Because to hit value for him at 5.5x, you're looking at 40 DraftKings points. He would be projected to just surpass 40 if he played 40 minutes. So that's a little concerning at his price. Now, he does have upside, and we've seen that he can go past that. He could put up 50 as the potential, which is great. So I will have exposure to him. And all I'm saying is I'm definitely going to play him, and I'm definitely going to play him a good amount. I'm just concerned about putting him in cash. That's my debate. Should I put him in cash or not? And the reason is, I think it's, I want to say for another $1,000. Let me just pull it up real quick. Not even. For $600 more, I can play Carmelo Anthony, who's also in a monster spot against a bad defensive Denver team. Or for $1,000 less, I can play Will Barton, who, especially if Faried is out, has been getting a lot of run. We've seen him slipped into that starting lineup. And his last 2 games, 37 minutes against Dallas. That was when he put up the 50 burger. That was ridiculous. 38 minutes against Atlanta, 45.75 DraftKings points. So if this guy's going to play these monster minutes, I would much prefer to play him over Chandler just based on price alone. So obviously, yeah, upside too, but price mainly is the driving factor. So if we think that Barton is going to get some more run, if we think he's going to really get 35 or higher, 35 minutes or higher. I mean, honestly, if he plays 30 or higher, I still would rather play him than Chandler, just because, like I said, it's his price is $1,000 cheaper, and on a night like tonight with nine games and a lot of good studs going tonight, I think that you could really use that extra 1,000. Barton is a 0.96 projected points per minute player, and Chandler is 1.01. So I don't think that 0.05 or whatever it is worth $1,000. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. So I definitely think it's interesting. That's going to be my biggest debate for my cash games today regarding that small forward position. I definitely think I want to stick within that realm, but it's going to be tough. On the Knicks side, obviously Moutier's out. Not that makes much of a difference, but on the Knicks side, Joakim Noah is doubtful with a hamstring against Denver. I don't think he's going to play. If he doesn't play, I think it's a Hernan-GOAT-mez night. I know the other day when they played, I was telling you about Kyle O'Quinn. I think it's a Kyle O'Quinn night, but I explained to you why. In this scenario, I think it's more of a Hernan-GOAT-mez night. Hernan-GOAT-mez, or as I like to call him, Hernan-GOAT-mez. That's what I like to call him. Hernan-GOAT-mez, yeah. Anyway, I'm not saying to throw him in your cash games or anything like that. I might. I don't know yet. I have to do more research. But he's 5,200, so his price did come back down a little bit from that 59. And Jokic is a very, very, very good center, but he's not like a physical dominant kind of guy, right? Like he's not going to be like a Dwight Howard and Debo Hernan-GOAT-mez down low. So I think the Knicks do prefer to play Hernan-GOAT-mez because of his production. He's a little quicker. He's young. So I think in this game, I think O'Quinn will take the back seat. And it's kind of a shame because O'Quinn is power forward eligible, which is awesome because that gives you the capabilities in some situations to play both of these guys together. I don't think I want to go there today. I think Hernan-GOAT-mez is the guy I want. I typically pick one of these guys, and I was on O'Quinn last time, and that was because of the matchup. And I think today I prefer Hernan-GOAT-mez, and that's also because of the matchup. So it'll be an awesome, awesome game to see Jokic and Porzingis, man. To see those two young guys go at it. They're similar size, and it's going to be an awesome, awesome thing to watch. Luckily for me, I'm in Jersey, so I'll be able to watch that. Anyway, moving on, Jabari Parker, man. Wow, man. What a bummer, right? Like, just a bummer hearing about the Jabari news. Torn ACL out for the season. I don't know what the Milwaukee did, but they must have did something to piss off the basketball gods here because they got these two studs, these young studs. They got a great young team. They even have Brogdon, which is a great addition to the team, and I think as the seasons go on, I think he'll progress. And then they finally get Chris Middleton back, which could be that third piece to kind of glue together the team. And they get Middleton back and they lose Jabari. Just tough break, man. You can't help but feel bad. But I don't know what they did to the basketball guys, but they must have did something because it's too coincidental that Middleton comes back and Jabari's lost for the season. That's rough. But anyway, with Jabari out, Middleton in GPPs, he played 15 minutes, but he had a lot of usage in that 15 minutes, and it's tough to play anybody who's only going to get 15 minutes. I'll admit that. But so maybe we should wait on him. But in the future, keep an eye on him because the minute they start to let him loose, the minute he's going to get 20 minutes, he's going to be worth playing in a GPP. I can tell you that. In the meantime, I think Giannis becomes an outstanding play. Now, he's super expensive on FanDuel. I know that. I think he's like in the 11s. But on DraftKings, he is 10-8, so it's not terrible. And I think, according to our WiseTake projections, he is, where is he on this list? Give me 1 sec. I think he's like third tonight as far as project. He's projected for the third highest DraftKings points, just right behind Anthony Davis, who's right behind Boogie. So I think that Giannis is an outstanding play. The Lakers do not have a good rim protector, and Giannis, I prefer Giannis in these kind of games where he can really drive to the basket because I don't like to rely on Giannis's jump shooting. Not that he's a bad jump shooter. I don't know. Maybe he is actually. I haven't really paid attention, but to that production, but I do think that it's going to create more shots. Jabari not being there is going to create more shots in general for the entire team. So I think Giannis is going to have to take some of those shots because even though Giannis is fantastic, he doesn't take a million shots like some of these other, like Carmelo and some of these other guys. He doesn't. So I think he's going to have to. I think he's going to get more shots. So I think he's a phenomenal play today against the Lakers. It's a close spread, high total. They're home. Lakers are a terrible defensive team, and like I said, they have no rim protector. So if Giannis wants to drive to that hole, there is nobody there to stop him. So I think Giannis is a great play today. especially with Jabari out. Now, I do want to say that on paper, if you run any kind of numbers, the usage isn't going to go up too much for Giannis with Jabari out, just because of the fact that his usage is so high already. But I do think there is a bump, especially in the shot attempts. I do think there is a bump for Giannis there. Hibbert and Hawes could play. I don't care. I don't really know the situation. Tyreek Evans is questionable with an ankle at Minnesota. Chris Dunn is questionable with a hand at New Orleans. So Tyreek Evans, until we know he's going to get those big minutes, it's not really worth it. But I think with Evans out, I think that Holiday and Davis get bigger usage bumps. Obviously, guys like Buddy Hield, if you're looking for value. Buddy Hield and I forget the other guy's name, but there's a couple of those shooting guards like they rotate. They'll get more runs. So if you want value, you could look there. On the Minnesota side, the Chris Dunn news just means I think that Rubio would get a little bit more of an extended run. I'm not crazy about Rubio against Holiday, but lately Holiday's defense has not been there. I don't know if the trade rumors are bugging him or what. I heard there's some rumors about him getting traded to Philly. I don't know how true that is, especially not after McConnell just made that another game-winning shot yesterday. So I don't know, but yeah, I think that makes Rubio interesting, but I'm not too excited about that. Thad Young is expected to be out with his wrist against at Washington. Markieff Morris is questionable with a calf. We saw him set out last time. Lavoy Allen, I think, definitely still in play. We saw, I don't know how he ended up finishing. He started off great against Cleveland, so I think he certainly plays a big guy, go down there, get some rebounds, and I don't know what it is. In certain games, he takes a lot of shots, and then in certain games, he doesn't take any shots. So I think it's a hit or miss. I don't know if you could throw him in cash, but he's cheap enough to where you have to consider it for sure, especially if Thad Young's out and he's going to see 30-plus minutes. Markieff, I think it's a good matchup for Markieff, but if he doesn't play, I'll be looking at Wall, Porter, Beal. Those guys are going to have to pick up the usage. Kelly Oubre, I'm so happy I did not play him the other day. He burned so many people the other day. It was horrible. He played like 30 minutes and got 5 DraftKings points or something. It was, I don't think he scored one basket, and that was just horrible. And I didn't even play him, but I felt horrible for the guys who did, because it's a situation where I know you make that switch and you're thinking this was genius. The late switches are always the best, and they are. I'm not taking that away. Late switches are always the best because a situation like last night where a late switch was required and people like me weren't at their computer. So late switches are the best, and that was a situation where the late switch kind of baited people into Oubre when really it should have put them onto Beal and maybe like Wall or Porter. Beal was the one who had the best day, I think, for his salary. But yeah, so if he plays, he's in a good spot. If he doesn't play, the other, in my opinion, I'm not going to play Oubre, but the other guys, maybe in GPPs, Oubre is interesting because I love playing guys that have just recently burned the masses, because then they're not going to be on him and watch the next game they go off. So I think Oubre is interesting in GPPs only. Don't put him in your cash games. I wouldn't trust him there. Moving on, JaVale McGee is probable with his back at Memphis. Chandler Parsons is expected to miss with rest against Golden State. Zebo is questionable with a foot against Golden State. So I think that the injuries I'm not too concerned about here. We know Zaza's out, obviously. I think if JaVale McGee is out, they're going to have to play Green a little bit at the center spot. I don't know how he's going to fare against Gasol. And I know this is a revenge spot for Golden State, so I think it's interesting here. I wouldn't put him in cash, but in GPPs, you'd have to consider the Golden State guys and the Memphis guys. Memphis are obviously in a pace-up spot. Last time we saw Mike Conley completely crush against this team, so I don't know if he's going to have that same success today. I'm sure that they're going to game plan to make sure he cannot do that to them again. At least I would imagine that's what they're going to do. And but all in all, I definitely think it's an interesting spot, interesting game in general. But it is in Memphis. It is a slower-paced team that we're talking about, so it's going to be interesting. Thabo is questionable with a groin at Sacramento. Lawson is doubtful, so I think that makes Collison a great play. If Thabo is out, Hardaway is also still another phenomenal cash play. Kufis is probable with a finger. Moving on, Jimmy Butler is questionable with a heel against Phoenix. If Butler plays, he's in a phenomenal spot. I don't think I have to tell you that, but if Butler plays and Wade doesn't, Wade is questionable with an illness. So if Wade doesn't play because he's sick and Butler does play with his heel, which Butler I think he's expected to play. I think I read something earlier that they expect him to play, but he's still listed as questionable. If Butler is out and Wade plays, obviously Wade's the play. If Wade is out and Butler plays, obviously Butler is a monster play. If both of these guys are out, as much as it pains me to say this, you have to go back to guys like Rondo, Michael Carter-Williams. You're going to have to look at those guys. That's the bottom line, because their value, they're in a good matchup against Phoenix. Phoenix is a horrible defensive team. and you just have to. But I'm hoping Butler plays and Wade sits out, and then I can just load up on Butler. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Anyway, that's it for the injuries. So we're going to move on to position by position. We don't have too much time, so I'm going to go a little quick. I'm just going to mention some of the guys in interesting spots. We talked about Giannis at 10-8 against the Lakers. John Wall against Indiana is a great matchup. I love targeting against people. I like playing Teague, don't get me wrong, but I really like targeting point guards against Teague a lot also, especially because Paul George is a pretty good defender, so a lot of the time it gets pushed out to the guard position, and I think Wall's in a good spot. Dragic is 7-9. Is in a very good spot against Brooklyn, especially we talked about if Waiters doesn't play, I think it becomes an even better spot. I think Bledsoe's price is incredible right now. He hasn't been playing well, but we know what his upside is, and he's only 7-2 on DraftKings against Chicago. So regardless if Wade or Butler played or not, if Wade plays, okay, maybe he could see some Wade defense, but I doubt it because they're going to need Wade to cover Booker most likely. If Wade is out, who is he going to see? Michael Carter-Williams defense, even Rondo defense at this point. So I think Bledsoe is very, very interesting at 7-2 with that upside. But I don't know for sure if you can trust Bledsoe and cash the way he's been playing. It's just at that price, it's hard to just let him go and just not even consider him. So let me pull him up on our projections and see. So yeah, Bledsoe is a 1.21 projected points per minute guy. So if according to his projection, if he plays 33.48 minutes, which he should as long as the game stays close, he's projected to surpass his value at 5.5x. So I think he's a phenomenal play today, Eric Bledsoe. It's a pace down spot, so I don't think people are going to rush to him, although his price is low, so they may play him. But I think this is a great bargain on a guy like him who completely runs that offense, him and Booker both. So I definitely like Bledsoe today. I don't know exactly how much. It depends. I'm going to look into it, but I do like Bledsoe. I like Rubio at 64 we talked about. If Dunn is out, if Dunn is playing, I think there's elsewhere you can go. I think Derrick Rose is in a phenomenal spot at 6'3 against Denver. We love targeting point guards against Denver. They've been horrible against point guards, so I think Rose is in a great spot. And again, Rose is a guy that he's not really a good jump shooter. He likes to drive to the hole. So I think this is a decent matchup for him if they can find a way to keep Jokic away from the rim, which they may be able to because a lot of their guys can play outside and they could shoot, like Porzingis and even Hernan-GOAT-mez and O'Quinn. They don't just stay down by the hoop. So if they can clear out that alleyway, I think Rose is in for a lot of opportunities to drive and assist and also drive and score. So Rose is interesting. Collison, if Lawson is out, which I think Lawson is doubtful. If Collison plays, Lawson doesn't play, I think Collison's in a great spot. Once again, he did phenomenal for me the other night, and I would definitely go back to the well with Collison. If I find out Lawson's not playing, Collison's going to get mega minutes, and he'll probably be my cash game point guard for sure. But definitely keep an eye on Collison for sure. Make sure Lawson's not playing, though. The problem is we may not know because it's a late game, so we may not find the news out until well after lock. Anyway. For the shooting guards, Jimmy Butler, we talked about at 9K. I love Butler. If Wade plays, he's in a good spot, but I'm hoping he doesn't. We can load up on Butler. Beal is in a very good spot, especially if Morris doesn't play. Booker at 6'5 against Chicago is interesting. Will Barton, I really like Will Barton at 61 if he's going to get those minutes again. If Fareed doesn't play, I'm certainly locking in Barton for sure because I think if Fareed doesn't play, Barton is definitely going to be the guy to get the run. If Fareed does play, it's going to make me question it a little bit unless they say Barton is starting over Gary Harris or something like that. So keep an eye on Barton for sure. Hardaway, if Thabo is out, great spot against Sacramento. They really struggle against two guards. And with Collison having to guard Schroeder, that's going to leave Hardaway open for a lot of opportunities against some pretty bad defense. So I do like Hardaway if Thabo is out. Let's see. Gary Harris at 5K is okay. The Knicks are bad against wings, and I always like to play him and Jokic because they got a little thing going on there. So I think Gary Harris is interesting at 5K. He's not my favorite, but at small forward, Kawhi Leonard 8-2 against Detroit is okay. It's a slow matchup, pace down spot for both of these guys. So I'm not too crazy about the spot for either of these guys, but just worth mentioning. For either of these teams, but it's worth mentioning. I do like LMA a little bit, but we'll talk about that. PG-13, 8K, I think it's a little too high for him against Porter. Carmelo is 7-7 against Denver. This is a very, very good spot for Carmelo. Remember, Carmelo was drafted by the Nuggets. He went to the playoffs pretty much every year he was there. I do think he has a lot of fun memories, but at the same time, he's going to want to play well. He's not going to want his old team to come in and beat him and just show him, hey, you should have stayed in Denver because you would have been better off in Denver, because he has not had the team success that he's had in New York as he did in Denver. And granted, he was younger back then, and back then the conference he played in was a little weaker. Whereas now he's in a super weak conference and he's still struggling. So it's tough, but I think Melo's going to come out swinging today. I really do. And honestly, I'm not afraid of Wilson Chandler or Barton defense. So who's going to stop Melo today? So I do like Melo a lot. I like a lot of Knicks today, though. On both sides. Knicks and I just love that game, the Knicks-Denver game. I really do. I really like it. Andrew Wiggins at 7-2 is coming off a monster game. New Orleans struggles against small forwards. Wiggins is the guy that we've seen is getting the bigger usage bump with LaVine out. So with LaVine out, Wiggins is definitely the guy you're going to want to target, and he's only 7'2". It's not bad. So I think at some point he's going to end up getting moved up to 7'5", maybe even 8, because we're going to see his production slowly start to increase. We're going to see his shots slowly start to increase, and I think that's going to raise his price eventually. Let's see. We talked about Chandler at 7-1. Otto Porter is interesting at 6'6". Only GPPs because the matchup is tough with George. But we see a lot of times some of these guys, nobody plays them because they're in a bad matchup and then they go off. So I think that he's capable. He has upside. He's only 6'6". If Markieff Morris is out, they may rely on him a little bit more for production. And I think GPP only because his matchup is bad. I could see Paul George just shutting him down. But still worth mentioning. Moving on to power forward, I think LMA is in a great spot. He's only 6'4" on DraftKings. That's it. And if you look at his recent production, that you could kind of see why. But he's super cheap at 6'4". He's going to think about his matchups here. He's going to either see Drummond when he plays center. I'm not worried about Drummond. If he's either going to play, who else is there? Tobias Harris. I don't think Tobias Harris can match up. And John Lure, John Lure has the height, he has the size. I don't think he's strong enough to handle a guy like LMA. So I do like LMA at 6'4". James Johnson at 6 is in a great spot against Brooklyn. Julius Randle, GPPs only because I think his minutes have been kind of back on the like trending upwards. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. But I think Randall's interesting. He's 5'4", and once he's healthy and back in the swing of things, I don't think we're going to see him this cheap again. And Jabari's out, which, don't get me wrong, Jabari's not a very good defender, so I was okay with playing him with Jabari. But yeah, okay, so against Detroit, he played 30 minutes. If he's going to get another 30, I will take a shot with Randall at 5,400. I think that's way too cheap for a guy with his upside. I know he was sick, and I was off of him, but I think it looks like apparently he's well enough to play 30 minutes, so if he plays another 30 minutes, he's projected to surpass his value by almost a full fantasy point. So all he has to do, and that's actually at a projection of 29.04 minutes. So if he plays a full 30, I think he goes past his salary no problem. So I think he's definitely in play. I would love to play him in cash because of his salary. I just don't know if I can because of the pneumonia thing and because we don't know how many minutes he's actually going to play. So that's a concern there. Anyway, KP6, 69. We saw him have a breakout game. He came back with a huge game. I think KP6, that's Kristaps Porzingis, at 6,900 is certainly a decent spot here. And I wouldn't mind taking him again. It's going to be great to see. There's some great matchups today. Boogie against Anthony Davis. KP6 against Jokic. I'm not saying they're always going to be matched up on each other, but they're great matchups as far as young studs, similar kind of players, doing similar things. It's going to be phenomenal basketball day today, for definitely. Anyway, moving on to center. Boogie is 10-7 against Atlanta. He projects the highest. I think in GPPs, Boogie's a great play because I think that he does have on paper, he has a tougher matchup against Howard. Now, I don't think Howard can really come close to the things that Boogie can do as far as, holding him defensively. But there is some concern when Boogie plays other physical centers. There is some foul trouble concern. So I wouldn't put Boogie in cash at 10-7. But he's the highest projected player tonight. I'm going to have some GPP exposure to him. Like I said, we see it a lot. These bad matchups, people stay away from him, and then somehow they just go off. So I think Boogie's definitely a good tournament play. Anthony Davis, right under him, he's $600 cheaper, and he projects just slightly under Boogie. Just to be exact, let's see. So Boogie's projected for 56.02 DraftKings points on WiseTake system. Anthony Davis is projected for 53.57. And then Giannis is right behind him at 50.95. So these two are obviously the top two projected guys. You're talking about a difference of about, a little under 3 fantasy DraftKings points, and you're talking about a $600 difference. So you're going to have to decide which one you want. I think they're both tournament plays for sure. I don't know. I guess Anthony Davis, if he wasn't so injury prone, you could consider him in cash because he's cheaper. But either way, I think both of these guys are tournaments only, but you're going to want exposure to them for sure. Whiteside is certainly fun. Oh, I'm sorry. Karl Anthony Towns at 10K is cheaper than both. He's in a phenomenal spot. Another great GPP play. His projection is at 48.98, so he doesn't project as high, and I think that has something to do with Wiggins kind of coming in here and taking away some of that usage. But yeah, real quick, I do want to mention, I didn't mention him before, but Kevin Durant is an interesting GPP play. He's 9-4 against Memphis, and he's projected for 49.87 points, even with the adjustment for pace. So I think he's the fourth highest projected player. So at 9-4, people may stay away from him, especially because of this matchup with Memphis. But he's interesting for GPPs, of course. Another guy that I wanted to mention. Anyway, sticking with center, I love Jokic today. He's 9-2. He might be my cash game center. I'm not too concerned with foul trouble, although you never really know. A guy like Hernan-GOAT-mez could get him into foul trouble. But at 9-2, I think he's phenomenal. He's got fantastic upside. I think he definitely pays his salary in a pace-up spot against New York. New York is a terrible defensive team, especially lately. Love Jokic today. Can't say it. I love Jokic today. Brolo's interesting at 6'8". We talked about him. Whiteside is even more interesting at 8'5", especially if Waiters doesn't play. 8'5" against Brooklyn. I think Whiteside is trying to turn that corner, and we know what he's capable of. We know he can go out there and put up points. And then finally, the last guy I'll talk about is, we talked about him already, Willy Hernan-GOAT-mez. I think that at 5'2", I think he's definitely in play today. But hey, listen, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun slate. We got an extra 30 minutes to find out some more injury news, I think. You know, I keep saying that. I better double check because I saw on one thing that said that was the case. And after yesterday, I don't know what I can trust anymore. Yeah, okay, the first games don't start till 7:30. So we got some extra time today. So enjoy it, utilize it, take advantage of it. Good luck on your cash game. I think you can definitely play cash today. I definitely think we can play cash. I'm going to play cash. I'm going to play a lot of GPPs, of course, too. But I'm really going to play cash. And I think we can find a way to attack this slate. I think it's a phenomenal slate. These are my kind of slates. I like it. The studs aren't two-way up there. There's no Harden, no Westbrook. And I think you could really make things work. There's not a lot of value yet, but pay attention because that may open up. And there is some, right? We know about Collison, Lavoy Allen, maybe. So there is some. Obviously, Oubre. So keep your eyes open because there is some. But I think more will open up. Real quick, I'll mention that if you see it's been a quiet day on the injury front, you better make sure you're by that computer by lock because anytime it's a quiet day like yesterday, some big news happens right at the end. So make sure that you're available tonight and every night. I promise you I will never play a slate where I cannot be by my computer by lock again. Anyway, that's going to do it for us for the position by position. If you're not a member of WiseTake.com, please go there now. Sign up. It's completely free membership. You get access to our free DraftKings and FanDuel NBA projections, access to our cheat sheets. We have NBA odds charts. We have DVP charts. We got a bunch of things for you to use on there, all free. So definitely become a member now. Obviously, we're trying to get the forums going. So guys, if you want to ask any questions or you want to get a conversation going, start chatting in the forums. I'm going to work on trying to get a chat feature for us. But for the meantime, start posting on those forums. I want to get that thing going. What else is there? Oh, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to do something here. We're trying to do something. We need your help. So like that. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow, leave us some comments. We'd love to hear feedback. We try to do anything we can to make sure you guys enjoy the show. And if you're listening on iTunes, subscribe to the channel on iTunes. Review us, rank us, try to bump us up that system. Let's do it. Hey, listen, even if your feedback is negative, I want to hear it. I can handle it. I can handle the criticism. I want the show to be better for you guys. So let me know if there's anything else I could do better. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here at WiseTake.com. We always have a good time. That's the last show for the weekend. So we'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. And as always, good luck.